Hi, it's Catherine Franke. It's July 8th. I went over to the Columbia campus today. I had some things to do. And walking across that campus just felt empty. Not just empty of people. There are a lot of high school kids doing whatever they do in the summer at Columbia, full of energy, excitement, like everything was normal. But there was something missing in terms of just the depth, the intensity of Columbia as a research university. I ran into two colleagues who said they were retiring early because of everything that's been going on there. So a little bit about the details of what's been happening. I have a colleague up at the medical school who had a National Institutes for Health grant to work on structural racism, neurocognition, in reward-related decision-making and substance abuse risk. So this person is studying structural racism and the way that it impacts people of color in the way they make decisions, and also about how they might use substances to sort of self-medicate the injury of structural racism. That grant was canceled by the NIH a few weeks ago, along with so many of the other grants, not just at Columbia, but elsewhere, because as the notice of termination said, the project has been terminated due to unsafe anti-Semitic actions that suggest the institution, Columbia, lacks concern for the safety and well-being of Jewish students. Other people I know were doing work on HIV among adolescents, other kinds of domestic violence issues in sex and sexuality, particularly among non-binary, trans people. And their notices of termination said research programs based on gender identity are often unscientific and have little identifiable return on investment and do nothing to enhance the health of many Americans. Now we're talking about minority groups here. Many such studies ignore rather than seriously examine biological realities. So then going back to this kind of biological conception of identity. It is the policy of NIH not to prioritize these research grants. So these are the two termination letters that researchers at Columbia and other universities have been getting. One about anti-Semitism, and that's a particular Columbia thing, and the other about gender identity or other racial groups. Now, I looked at the number of NIH grants that have been canceled in the last year at Columbia alone. There are 808 of such grants totaling $1.5 billion, working on things like public drinking water contaminants and infant health, investigating the potential of wastewater surveillance data to improve COVID modeling and forecasting, Alzheimer's disease research, comprehensive cancer care, the Center to Improve Chronic Disease Outcomes, pediatric endocrinology, postdoctoral training in cardiovascular disease. I mean, it goes on. None of these things on their face have anything to do with DEI, or with anti-Semitism, or with particular groups that the government might target. They're using gender ideology or this idea of not maintaining a campus that is safe for Jewish students as a way to cut back on fundamental medical research across the board that impacts all of us, regardless of our identity. What I want to say about this is, because many people have talked about it, and it is horrible, is how effective the right has been in mobilizing a kind of argument about identity to split our communities, to use anti-Semitism to keep the university from doing work on anti-racism, for instance, to use the rights of women and anti-sexism, sex equality, to deny the rights of transgender people, whether it's athletes or others. They've been really effective at dividing our communities by implicating or invoking the rights of one group in order to undermine the rights of another. We have to get better at this, not in the cynical way that they do, but in a way that is principled. An example is to use religious liberty rights. We all enjoy them under the First Amendment. to protect the work we do for Native American people, for immigrants, for a whole range, even, gender affirming care, for instance. We have worked at my Law, Rights, and Religion project at Columbia with 2 rabbis in the Midwest who have a trans kid. And they said, as a matter of our Jewish faith, we want to make sure to provide our child with gender affirming care. And the state denying that is a violation of our religious liberty rights, our freedom to exercise our religion. Abortion rights, same thing. There are faith-based arguments for reproductive health care, reproductive freedom, the decision to make the power, the right to make decisions about your own body. So we could be smart and divide them based on arguments that they feel then kind of incapacitated from opposing because they care so much about religious liberty, for instance. Gun rights is another. So I want to urge us to not surrender to the way our communities are being divided through the pitting of one community against another, but also think about how we might be smart of using the law, the way that the other side is, to shore up one community and the other community at the same time. We can do this, we know how to do this, and we have to be smarter about how we do it.